All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the WorkWave Route Manager Workshop for June. This is tips and tools to ensure business sustainability with Foolproof Delivery Service. This is, of course, 62520. And today, I want to introduce our speakers. Joining us today are four of us. So going from the right, we've got Nicole Feverin. She is the WorkWave Route Manager and WorkWave GPS Product Marketing Manager. Hello, Nicole.
Hello. Welcome, everyone.
Then to her left is Yasser Bar. He is one of our customer success specialists. You may have talked to him as you go through training and onboarding. Hello, Yasser.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining.
To his left, and ever vital and an incredibly important cog in our machine here, is Haley Mullen, the team lead on customer support.
Hey, everybody. Welcome, and hope you will enjoy our presentation today.
And then my name is Mike Christ. I'm a team lead on the customer success and onboarding team. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you today. All right, so let's do this. Let's hit our. For those of you who've never joined one of these sessions before, what we like to do when we're talking with all of you monthly, because we absolutely love doing that first and foremost, number one, we like to share, we usually like to do tips and tricks. We like to do best practices. We like to talk about new features. And every so often, we also like to talk about industry trends we're seeing. Today, we're going to do a bit more along the lines of industry trends. Now, why did we want to talk about industry trends specifically now? Well, clearly, there's a pandemic going on, and all of you in a very large way, because delivery right now is hotter than ever for most of you. Maybe not all, but most back, right? So when we're talking about delivery, one of the things that happened, between last session that we did and this one was that the obviously pandemic. Some places are reopening, some are not. And for those of you who were with us last time, we talked about the SMS feature, right? Well, the SMS feature we had projected to come in mid-June. And I'm happy to share that while we didn't hit mid-June, we are going to be hitting July 1st. So for those of you who remember being here last time, July 1st is our new date. So we're really excited about that. But the reason why we delayed it was because we saw such a heavy increase in volume and usage from most of our users that we felt the need to really firm up and add a bit more backbone and stability. Not that we didn't have before, but we wanted to add more to the route manager that you're using today. We thought it was important to pause a little bit on that SMS and really bring up and make some of the optimization times a bit faster, work on a few performance improvements, and didn't think that 2 weeks was really going to make or break any of you or us. So we did that. And then we were like, well, and it was Nicole's idea actually, we're like, well, let's take the time to, since we're not talking about SMS at the moment, and that's going to be coming out July 1 now, what if we were to talk a little bit more about what we're seeing in the industry? We're going to repurpose our agenda for this month. So that's what we did. So we're going to be talking about a few of the things we're seeing all around and how we can help you, by way of Route Manager, enable these. So we're going to talk about contactless delivery with what we call customer notifications, delivery validation and proof of delivery. We're going to talk specifically about easing routing restrictions to open up availability, and then also tying that into using route simulations with tighter time windows and possibly shorter service. Now that's going to make a bit more sense when we dive into Route Manager and we talk a little bit more about how you can try and either squeeze more orders in or make do with less staff or whatever it is you actually need to do. We're going to talk through a few of those and how you can simulate those out. We'll also touch briefly on how to involve your staff for help with routing. And then we're going to show you all of this by way of a demonstration inside of Route Manager itself. So you're not just listening to the industry trends that you're experiencing or maybe you're have questions about, but we're also going to show you how to apply some of these inside of Route Manager itself. And then, as always, a Q&A towards the end. So, okay, before we get too far into any more of that, Nicole, why don't you tell us a little bit about how we at WorkWave consider ourselves to be an extension of all of our users' teams?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mike, for the intro. So we have on this webinar some of our established customers who know all of our mantra and know the value of Route Manager, but we also have some others who are still learning about Route Manager and WorkWave in general. So I just wanted to take a few moments to, first of all, thank those of you who are on this call whether you are a customer, and we appreciate your loyalty in choosing Route Manager for your delivery needs. But then we also want to take the time to thank those who are looking into Route Manager. Thanks for taking a moment to just hear how we feel that our product can help with sustainability during this time and years to come, just to be sustainable and to be in it for the long haul, as Route Manager and WorkWave as a company prides ourselves to be. So basically with Route Manager, it's always our goal from a product and engineering standpoint to create features that are based on your needs. We are very in tune with our customers, what your desires are, or what's going on in the market that is a true trend or a need. So that's always at the forefront of our decisions to evolve our software or to create new feature sets and make it better for you. And usability and ease of use is our main focus. Long haul, this is something that is very important that differentiates Route Manager and WorkWave in general. We have been established for over 36 years as a company, and a lot of routing companies can't say the same thing. So we have a lot of history, we have a lot of skill set with our team, and we have a lot of passion for what it is that we do. So we're truly devoted to being a partner with you, our customers, so that you also, as I said, have that sustainability as we do as a company. As far as Route Manager as a tool for your dispatchers and drivers, we are an essential part of your business. We automate routes, we automate the process and the workflows for your dispatchers and your drivers alike, so that you can free up time to spend and more business and more imperative business decisions that you have to be focused on, like generating more revenue, improving customer satisfaction, increasing profitability. Those are the things as business owners should be dealing with. But as far as you, the users and the drivers, this is an essential tool for your business to run more smoothly and quickly. Finally, I just want to reinforce that, yes, we've been going through an unprecedented time that has created a lot of challenges and adversity, that is for sure. However, there's been a lot of opportunity that some of our customers have noticed in the face of all of this, right? We have a lot of companies that were deemed essential that were able to, in fact, expand and add more licenses to their plans. We even have customers who may not have been deemed essential, but they want to have a leg up on the competition as businesses open up and to have the infrastructure set up to handle the demands that are coming ahead, and having that sense of optimism and hope for the future, which is very important. So come what may, Route Manager and all of our teams, such as Haley and our support team, Mike and Yasser for onboarding. So all of our new customers, you're very familiar with them, trying to get you up and running as soon as possible. This is very important to us because we want you to succeed. The more successful you are, the happier we are, and we want you to stick around for the long run. So with all that said, again, thank you for joining, and I'll pass it back to Mike and Yasser.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nicole. And all of that is so incredibly true. So one of the fun things about taking a step back and talking a little bit about what all of you are experiencing in the industry and what we're seeing is that we wanted to open up for a few more poll questions this time. So if you wouldn't mind, please pay attention to the screen, and we're going to ask a few questions, kind of also help us shape a little bit of future conversations like that we do like this. So question number one. And this is just this one's a yes, no. Have you seen an increase or decrease in volume and business since the start of the pandemic? And now this is just this covers you for both increase and decrease. So basically changes. Now I'll let those roll on in. Okay, once we get a solid majority, we'll let it roll, and then I'll share these, of course, with you as we go. I'll give it another 5 seconds. Very cool. All right. So I'll share those with you in just a moment. Now, I'm also incredibly curious, another yes/no question. Have you needed to change your routing workflow as a result of an increase or decrease? Now, by routing workflow, what we mean is, have you needed to start earlier, start later? Have you had to change your vehicles around a little bit, change your drivers, or change, when people come in to start routing? We're dying to know. And then, of course, feel free to use the questions pane to let us know how your flow has changed. Very nice. Thank you all for voting. Wow, they keep coming in. All right, great. All right, last question, then we'll share the results here. So this one, we're bucketing a little bit differently. We want to know how the needs of your customers have changed. So no change. They've opened up availability for delivery. Seen an increased demand for contactless delivery, an increased need for contactless delivery with proof, so proving you actually left the package somewhere, or an increased need for transparency. So status updates, where people are checking on their packages more. We'd love to know. And then, of course, if your needs have changed in a way that we haven't listed here, because there's so many ways, please feel free to use the questions pane, and then there's a chance we may talk about that a little bit later. And then Nicole, I think based on some of these questions, I know you wanted to ask everyone here a little bit additional, correct?
I sure did. Thank you for passing it to me. So I really, really would love to have any customers who have noticed a change for the better with Route Manager. If you wouldn't mind letting me know if you are interested in perhaps sharing your story, giving me the opportunity to have a conversation with you to learn more about your experience. So if you are indeed interested in this, if you would not mind to note in the questions pane or chat pane, whichever, that you are indeed interested. And I would love to have a conversation with you to discuss it further. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Nicole. So you should everyone see that up on the screen now. We're sharing the results. The question, have you seen an increase or decrease in volume since the start of the pandemic? So remember, the question here is just, has there been any change? Basically, has the status quo gone a little screwy on you? The overwhelming response is yes, and we would of course love to know if that's gone up or down for everyone. Now across our user base, we're mostly seeing increase, but of course that doesn't have to apply to everyone depending on your business. Those of you in field service probably saw a little decrease, but hopefully on the rebound now as places open up. 10% of you said no, so it's just status quo. Very nice. 10% of you are unsure, and I'm sure we'd love to know a little bit more about why you're unsure. Helps us too. All right. The next question: have you needed to change your routing workflow, as a result of an increase or decrease? So this one is a straightforward yes, but a little bit more varied. So a lot of you, it sounds like you already had a flow that worked for you, which is great, and then a yes for the others. Now, I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to remind you again and again. Please, we'd love to know, because we're going to talk a lot about best practices and we're going to show a lot, but we would love for you all to let us know how that's changed. And another great place, Nicole, later, WorkWave has a resource group on Facebook that conversations can also get started on, that you can share some of your experiences there as well.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Now, let's talk that last question before we move into the presentation. This one I was very interested to see the results of. We were having an internal debate, like, ooh, what's the one going to be? So 15% of you said that there's been no change in the needs of your customers. 19% have said opened availability for delivery as the main driver. And that's really good to hear. We are noticing that in a lot of cases, your customers, because often they're working from home, they want more deliveries, but they don't necessarily have as much of a preference about when it's delivered, which is really cool. Actually kind of helps everyone in the industry out because time windows are a big driver of inefficiency in routing. Now, it's necessary inefficiency. You need to deliver some things when people are there, but it means you have to hop around a lot. This one we all thought was going to be in here. Increased demand for contactless delivery. And then that was 41% of you. And then 19% increased need for contactless with proof of delivery. I lost on that one. I thought that one would end up being a little bit higher. So I think Yasser called that one on me. So you win, Yas. And then increased need for transparency via, we're assuming notifications here, 7%. So very nice to see that too. Cool. All right. Thank you, everyone. This kind of thing, it's great for us to hear, but also we love giving you a chance to speak out and again, use the chat or the questions pane to even open that up a little bit more if you'd like. So, okay. Thank you.
Hey, Mike, if you don't mind if I chime in for 1 second, we did have some people who popped information into the questions panel during that.
Oh, great.
So Rebecca let us know that not only did their business increase, but they also had to add more drivers and vehicles. Leanne let us know that, the current situation, how that affected them was that decreased the availability for delivery for them. And then from Kim, what happened for them is the needs of their customers, that changed. They needed to open availability, include contactless delivery, and increase transparency.
So Kim is really hitting like the route manager, like not trifecta, I don't know, hitting all four there. Wow.
Yep.
I hope that between what we're talking about today, and thank you everyone for sharing that, between what we're talking about today and what you can learn a little bit more as we go is how we can help enable this for all of you. So all of that said, let's talk a little bit about, let's pass it to Yasser, and let's talk about contactless delivery with customer notifications. So this hits us on two things. It hits us on the contactless need as well as the transparency. So Yasser, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. All right. So the first thing we want to obviously talk about is, due to social distancing, due to the physical separation in general that is affecting all of us, everybody's business has transformed, like a couple of people just mentioned over the questions pane, and even customers' expectations of delivery have obviously transformed as well, like you all answered in the third poll there. So reducing health risks and during this pandemic, reducing anxiety as well is very important for these customers, and that's really what's transformed as their expectation. Having these items left by the front door on the porch, anything like that. I know not everybody has like a Ring app, for example, like has a camera on their doorbell, and they can't see that all the time. So just having that, obviously, that's really another one of those things that people expect these days. And then receiving these status alerts, that way people can know when to crawl out of their houses and open up their door real quick and retrieve their package safely, and removing all the anxiety and having it be timely. That way people aren't just waiting and wasting their time all day. It's just really timely and effective and works off the live ETA. So the next thing we move on to, of course, are explaining what the 3 phases of our customer notifications, whether, of course, it's currently email or down the line SMS. We're looking at the service day notification. The beginning of the day, you set a time for this message to be fired off for any orders that are assigned and approved on your route to receive a initial message in the day, your order will arrive at this ETA. And then moving on to any status changes midday, anything like that, all the emails and even the SMS or text that you send out to them will have a link. It's going to focus on showing you where your address is and where your driver is, especially when they're less than 15 minutes away. Using the live ETA feature, it'll update in increments of 5 minutes with the almost there notification, really letting you know when they're really getting close to where you're at for your delivery. And then the last thing we're looking at with these one-way SMS or one-way email notifications on the next slide, Mike. Thank you. With the tracking page, with the service day, with the status, with the almost there, these are all one-way messages, whether it's email or text. And of course, you have the option in your company details during the setup to put in, if you want to leave the customer that you're sending this message, a way to contact them via email, like contact your support email line, or of course, your support phone number as well. That way, in case they have any questions, they can't respond back to this because it's one way, they would be able to reach out to your support team or a support line. And that's basically that. So thank you, Mike, back to you.
Awesome, thank you. Actually, we're going to send it over to Haley, because those were the ways that we could notify, enable contactless delivery, and at the same time enable that by way of messaging customers, right? But the other piece of this is delivery validation and the proof of delivery. So Haley, why don't you take us away?
Thanks, Mike. So with everything that's going on, as everyone's already mentioned, there have been changes. So with delivery validation and proof of delivery, if we can just go to the next slide. There we go. Beautiful. Due to social distancing and due to other factors, customer communication and order accuracy have become key. This can be utilized through Route Manager with multiple features we've included. Recently, we brought out barcode scanning. So what does this do? This allows for order validation. This means your driver can scan a package. And what does this help you with? It lets you know the correct package was given to the correct user customer address so that you know and your customers know the right items are being received. Proof of delivery. Capture where the picture was dropped off. How can your driver do this? They can take photos. That's a great tool. They can also send you back notes. Hey, in this description, it told me to leave it on the side porch. I honestly couldn't find a side porch. Here's a picture of what I was able to see. This can help you communicate with your customers as well, too, if something can't be completed. And then all of this is available in the mobile app. The mobile app takes the information that the driver inputs, and that can be the barcode scanning, photos. They can even leave you voice notes, and they can leave written notes. These are great tools. All of this will sync back to the interface that a dispatcher, viewer, admin, planner can all view in the interface and have the verification that these have been completed. And Mike? Thank you. So now, these are tools that you need your driver's help with, barcode scanning and the proof of delivery. The mobile app makes this nice and easy to use. It ensures accuracy. It helps streamline the workflow for your driver. It helps you provide confidence for your customers that the right things are being brought to the right places and that they're happening at the times that they should be happening. It also helps you with reducing liability on lost packages. With the barcode scanning, there's measures in there that will let a driver know if something is matching up or if it isn't. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Haley. And then, like we said before, we'll be showing you a little bit of how those things work at a high level inside of Route Manager just in a few minutes. So, okay. Then let's talk about this a little bit, because some of you certainly said that availability changes, or in some cases, the availability decreases for your customers. So when we're talking about this, the way we would think about this is easing routing restrictions. All of your routes are made up of restrictions, or as we'd call them, constraints. These are the rules you got to follow. Now, some of those are hard rules. Some of you deliver to commercial locations, and Walmart says you got to be there at the exact moment that they open. Some of you, though, have restrictions that you have in there for other reasons, and you have a little bit more flexibility with those. So let's talk about, for those, the ones where you have a little bit more flexibility, let's talk about some of the things you can do to open up availability. So because that increased demand for home delivery may be putting a strain on both your drivers and your staff, here's how you can stay ahead of it. So one of the first things we always like to suggest if you're having trouble getting a lot of your orders in is to look at if you have specific regions or areas for your drivers to be delivering to. This is very common. It's especially common when you don't have routing software and you just need a quick way to, anything that helps you make a decision as an algorithm. Our algorithm uses a server somewhere to think of billions of combinations, but the human mind can't do that. Your algorithm for making decisions has to first break things down into smaller bits. So for instance, setting a region or saying, hey, only these drivers can go here. There's no other reason other than that they just maybe know the routes. If possible, move away from designating specific drivers to go to specific areas. Now, sometimes you can't. One truck is bigger and can only go to certain stops. That's a real constraint. But when you're able to, try and figure out like, all right, what if I just let everyone go to more places? Do I get more orders in and can I handle an increase in demand? It's also one of the quickest way to adapt to increased orders. Now, the other thing here too is that tags, or we'd call them tags, but it's really just another constraint. It's those free-form ways you're able to say that only some orders can go to some drivers. What we'd encourage you to think about is instead of using what we would call a region, use tags. Regions are, it's very geographical, but if you have real constraints you're working with, it's probably better to work with something you can be a bit more flexible with. It's like, say, a tag where you say, this order requires this skill, right? And that's skill A, I'm not sure. You say skill A, and then I have 5 drivers with skill A. Well, I don't care if yesterday the driver was staying up north and now I can send this driver down south. It's saying I have 5 possible drivers and I need an order served with this particular tag / skill. Use that as a more adaptable way rather than just thinking about geography. Geography is a way you think about when you're doing the human algorithm. When you're dealing with something that can solve the problem a little bit more not wholeheartedly, but a bit more holistically, then maybe think about how do I open up availability even while having constraints on there. And that's going to be those things. It's maybe getting away from geographic regions and going to a more flexible setup like tags, or just saying, you might have to drive somewhere where you're not that you're uncomfortable, but you might just have to drive somewhere that you're not used to, because that will allow us to fit in 5 more orders for you. And in some cases, if you have gig workers, then that just means 5 more orders worth of money. If they're your employees, that just means you just got 5 more orders. So definitely think about that. We'll talk about that a little bit. And then even more importantly, we'll talk about how to use simulations to test these out before you try putting it into practice. But speaking of simulations, Yasser wanted to tell us a little bit about simulations and tighter time windows and shorter service.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. So with the use of simulations, it's going to be a test environment. We're going to show you in a little bit. We're going to pull the live route into the test environment and just get to pick it apart, do whatever we want with it, change the settings in the routing environment to really adhere to the way my business or my drivers or my customers are transforming these days. So converting a typical route into a simulation, like I said, is going to be the first thing we do. And then tightening up the time windows for delivery. We don't know the reason why. There's so many different reasons why you may want to do this on your orders, on your vehicle's time windows, whether business is up, whether business is down, or whether not all of my drivers are back yet, or I can't even afford to pay this many driving hours for X amount of days or a week, and so on and so forth. So overriding a resulting simulation is also something we're going to do. We're going to take an existing simulation, we're going to reevaluate it, we can duplicate it, and then mess around with the duplicate as much as we want, just in case we created a really good template or a really good route that we want to pop into operations that we really liked, but we don't want to affect the original file, so we duplicate it. And then, of course, moving it to operations to run it and dispatch it on the mobile app.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Of course, and I look forward to seeing that in just a few minutes. Now, Haley, I know this is a topic that you rather enjoy talking about, but because the thing is that oftentimes your routing staff is, they're rather busy, right? So you wanted to talk a little bit about how you can get more people to help out.
Yep. So this next topic, of course, is involving your staff for help. And here we go. So for many folks, they aren't able to be in the office right now. Everyone's working remotely, kind of like we are currently. And so sharing access is very important. How can your staff help you? And how can you help your staff? So within the interface, here's items you can do. Some of this will come from an admin perspective, meaning you can create additional credentials and provide them to your staff. You can make them planners, which would allow them to edit, or you can make them viewers, which allows them to do just that. They can go in and they can view. They can also print. So maybe you need them to be able to extract routes, and they can do that by exporting the routes and use that data to complete their work for the day. But in terms of the planning and the optimization, you can have as many planners as you need. Now, only one planner can be editing at a time, but maybe you have multiple territories. You can have a planner per territory or multiple planners, throughout your account to assist. Maybe you have time set up that each one will be working in the system. Having more staff helping takes that load off of you. Giving them the permission to edit the routes. They can go in if something needs to be done on the fly. Maybe driver A is calling Mike and going, hey, I'm stuck in a traffic jam. There is no way I'm getting to this order on time. That person can now pop in. They can reach out to that customer, maybe give them a phone call and let them know, hey, we're going to be delayed. Do you need to reschedule? That person can then go in and take care of that at that moment while they're on the phone with the customer. So, even if your customers call in, your viewers can even help with this. They can see the updates of the routes. If you have our 360 package and if you have live ETA enabled, they're going to see those routes update in real time. Everything syncs back to the interface from your drivers. If you have the 360 and the live ETA, if a customer calls in, they can go, oh, no, I can see right now they just left their last order and they're on their way to you now. As a matter of fact, you might even be getting a status update, or almost there update from us, in just a few moments as they get a little bit closer to you. So these are ways that your staff can help you. Thanks, Mike.
Don't thank me. It's one of your favorite topics. The next thing we wanted to do was we wanted to talk a little bit about putting these things into practice. So we're going to divide this up and talk about some of the items that we just showed you. So we're going to head over into Route Manager, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to first, Haley's going to walk us through what customer notification setup looks like, including how you'd format it in your Excel file before getting it into Route Manager. Yasser will then talk to us through how to use simulations and edit those constraints. And if we have time, I will walk us through proof of delivery. But most of you have seen that before, so if we have to let that one slide, we will, and we can always send something to you later, or you can look at some of the previous videos, because we want to get to the Q&A too. So with that said, let's head over into Route Manager. Now, I do want to note before Haley kicks us off that I'm in a demo environment, and as we're going to be talking about the SMS customer notifications, any of you following along will not be able to access this just yet, but you will be able to July 1st if you decide to sign up for the SMS packages. So, Haley, why don't you walk us through?
Great. So I know we've been through this before, and the access for this in terms of the setup is only available for our admins. So let's start here by taking a peek in the double arrows in the upper right-hand side. That will open up our user panel. And from here, we want to go to settings. And if you've used our email notifications, we have to activate Mike, but that's okay. We have enough to see here. You're going to notice there are a little changes here in our icons. So previously, what was called company details is now called the tracking page. What this means is in the tracking page,
Sorry, Haley, hold on. I was in the author's thing. Give me a sec. I'll switch over mine.
Okay.
My fault. I was like, wait, I literally just, I mean, spoiler, I just tested SMS the other day, worked great. I was like, I'm totally activated.
There we go. Okay. So previously, what was called company details is now called tracking page. This will help make a little bit more sense, and we will be updating our support articles for the launch on Wednesday. So this is where you are setting up details for information that your user will receive when they receive the tracking page. So you can enter your company name. If your company has a tagline, you can enter that in. You can enter your phone number for replies, the email that you want your customers to reply back to. And you can also do the email sender name. Now what the email sender name is, the email notifications come from WorkWave. So to be sure that your customers know who the email is coming from, you can enter the sender name and they will see that in their email. You can also choose the language and the actions in the tracking page. So do you want your customers to be able to email you, and do you want them to be able to call you? If you want them to do both or one or the other, simply check mark those, and then you'll update your company details and save that. Then the next part is the actual customer notification. And we have the three types. We have service day, status update, and almost there. Service day, as Yasser had mentioned earlier, this is when you set a time for, and it will go out to your customers at that specific time. Maybe your day doesn't start till 9 a.m. So maybe you want your notifications to all go out at 8 a.m. to let your users know, hey, you're going to get a delivery today. You can add your message text, and once the SMS is available next week, and if you get an SMS package, you then have the choice to do email or text message. One quick note on this, you cannot use both email and text message for a single type of notification. However, you can use mixed. Maybe you want your delivery day to go out as an email, but maybe you want your status update and you're almost there to go as a text. You can do those options. You can mix and match between them, but you cannot use both on the same type of notification. We give you some hot words you can use here that will pull information from your orders into your messaging. You can feel free to use those. It could include the driver name, the order name, order status, different things like that. You can just use your own text if you choose to. You are limited on the number of characters for SMS. It's the generic 160. And then we have our ETA ranges as well. So the ETA range is, what is the time frame this order is going to occur in? Do we want to give our customer a 30-minute window, a 1-hour window, a 2-hour window, or a 4-hour window? We can also include unsubscribe instructions. You can just check mark that. And then from here, you can also always test out to see what this will look like to your customer by sending it to yourself. You can just enter your private email or your work email in here, and you can click send and test it. If you're happy with everything, you can then click update notification. There you go. And then we've added the disclaimer here that you will see as well, that if you choose to use emails, SMS, or other notifications, you are responsible for the compliance and any applicable local laws and regulations. We make no representation that the guidelines, content, or material set forth herein are accurate or complete. We are not responsible for any violations of law or regulations for your use. So this means if there are certain limitations in how much communication you can have with your customers, you want to be sure you're choosing the right options when you are setting up your notifications here. And that's why that being able to choose between email or text for the different notifications will help in those instances. And now the fun part for next week. Mike, if you don't mind just hitting notification plan real quick for me. Thank you. So in here, once this comes out, you will be able to click on change plan. And if you can just click that real quick, I just want to show the link that'll be here. Thank you. In here, you can click on the more information about SMS, and it's going to bring you to a web page that's going to go through some more information about this for you. Once you've taken a peek at this and you've decided what meets your needs, your account manager can work with you on the best plan and helping to get it added to your account. And then between our success and support teams, we'll be assisting in getting that activated for you. If we can go back to the main interface there. Thank you, Mike. You can cancel that. And now what I want to show you, if we can use our big back button inside the interface. And real quick, best practice here is to always use the back button we supply you in the interface and not the back button on your browser. But one thing I want to show you, Mike, if you could just do me a favor and click on import orders for me. Great. If you look here in import orders, before the descriptions of our 4 types of imports, which are pickup, drop-off, service, and also the paired pickup and drop-off, we include templates. These templates are updated for next week. And Mike, if you wouldn't mind pulling up just the download pickup template for me. Thank you. So if you look here in our newest version here, column Y, this is a drop-off template example. We wanted to show this to you because we wanted to go over something that's really important for SMS. In column Y, we have the drop-off contact phone. So we need to make sure that our header is set up correctly so that this will link to the SMS. That's number 1. Number 2, we have the note in here where we must enter the phone number with the country code. This means, in this example, for the US and Canada, you need to enter the +sign and 1, and then add your 1 area code and the phone number. We will have information in support articles in terms of being able to assist you with some other country codes and formatting for other countries as they become available. But this part for the formatting is very important. We will also include some information in our support articles if you're using Excel especially to be able to, I can never say this right, concatenate. Can laugh at me all you want. It's one of those words that just gets stuck on my tongue.
I get that one wrong all the time too.
So that you can get your information formatted correctly. So we will have some of these best practice tips in the support articles as well. We're going to have those ready to be all set to go for July 1st so that everyone can start to prep a little bit ahead of time, even prior to having these packages set up on their accounts.
Haley, would you mind if I added in one more thing on this?
Go for it.
Awesome. Okay, so when you're punching in the +1 for the country code for the US or whatever country code you're putting in, before you put in a +sign, you have to put in an apostrophe in Excel. Exactly, or else it's going to think you're putting in a formula.
Thank you, yes.
And once you do that, no, you're fine. And then once you do that, it reads the apostrophe in the formula bar, but it won't read it in your data. And Route Manager can accept it.
Awesome.
You'll be fine. Yep.
See, this is why you are our onboarding specialist. Is brilliant.
I ran into this myself, Haley. I'm not going to admit I'm like a genius in Excel. I had to actually Google this one. I was like, what is going on? But just for everyone else, so that way everyone else doesn't freak out.
Awesome. And then once you have that set up, then your importing goes just as normal, and you'll just have the additional column for your contact phone. One other quick thing to mention, contact phone will not show up in your driver's mobile app. So if you also need the phone number to be available to your driver, you need to make sure you also have a custom field for phone number so that your driver will see it in the mobile app.
Thank you, Haley.
And Mike, I will hand it back to you. Thank you.
Excellent. So Yasser, why don't you take us through as we, we have about.
I can keep it brief. Yeah.
But I just wanted to, make sure we have a little time for Q&A. But we have about 10 minutes before we have to let everyone go. So I'm going to head over into your territory. So take us away.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. I'm just going to go through two things, especially the scenario that Rebecca mentioned earlier, how her business changed. Volume is up. More drivers, more orders, more routes, so on and so forth. So as you can see here, in this New York environment, we're looking at all those assigned orders around the North Jersey and, of course, the Manhattan and the Brooklyn area. Everything else that's unassigned represents new customers, higher volume, more business, basically. So what we're going to do is, thank you, Mike, perfect. We're going to pull this into a simulation test environment. Okay, now some of you that build repeatable routes and have stored repeatable templates, you may know that simulations can be accessed through the territory name button in the top left. Mine is called New York City June Workshop. So when we go up there, we're going to copy the plane that exists in the live end of the software into a new simulation by just clicking on plus new. And then be sure to keep the black square up top, import from operations highlighted. That way it copies from the live end of the software into a test environment. And up top, you could just name the simulation like after the date or after what you're doing, like multi-vehicle test, double vehicle test, because that's one of the added bonuses of this simulation environment is that I can build double the amount of vehicles I pay for in the live environment here. So we're going to go to create and open at the bottom now. Awesome. Thank you, Mike. Okay. So once this opens up, there's two things we're going to go through. In this first scenario, we're going to add another vehicle. So we're going to go to the setup menu in the top left, and I just want to clone one of my existing vehicles to save some time. So we can click on any of them, clone, and then we just leave it ticked up to 1. And of course, we could tick it up to double the amount of vehicles we pay for. But that's good for now. Thank you, Mike. We're going to hit back. And now that we're on the main map again, we're going to copy settings or create a one-time rule change on here that says my vehicles no longer work from 8 to 12, as you can see on my scheduler or the timeline above the map. My vehicles are, I have an extra vehicle, plus all of my vehicles work until 12:30 now. So more working time and another route. So to do that, change the vehicle's routes or data or change its rules for one date only, we create an exception by clicking on the name vehicle 1 from the map. And once you're here, we're going to change it to 12:30 p.m. if you don't mind, Mike. Awesome. And then we're going to hit save at the bottom. Now, all of my vehicles have the same hours, the same starting location. So I have the liberty of copying settings up top. Some people do not. Some people have like an out-of-town vehicle or drivers that start from their homes. So you're not going to be able to copy settings. You may have to do this one by one if you're testing it this way. So let's go ahead and hit that copy settings up there. And let's copy it to all vehicles, please. All right, and then we're going to back out and we build our route. And you'll see that we're going to be able to account for the higher volume now with an extra half hour on all vehicles and an extra route. And this is obvious to a lot of people, but I just wanted to reassure everybody that the Sims environment isn't just for planning repeatable routes. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click on vehicle 2.1, the one we just created, the one we just cloned off of vehicle 2. And we're going to set it as unavailable. The reason why I'm doing this is maybe it's not, you don't have the liberty of buying another vehicle or hiring another driver that has a vehicle or adding another route. we're going to update this rule at the bottom, setting this vehicle as disabled. And we're going to back out to the main map. And even if you do set up your vehicles as unavailable, you will be able to see that they are unavailable if we do zoom out to some extent, and you'll be able to see that next to where it says 5 routes, it should show unavailable vehicles as well above the Navigo bar. But what we want to do now is change these vehicles' working hours from 12:30 to 1:30, something like that. We're working with the same amount of vehicles, but we're just working with, in the original time was 8 to 12, now it's 8 to 1. So let's click on that. And let's just take that up to 1 p.m. if you don't mind, Mike. Perfect. And we're going to update that. And we're going to copy that setting to every vehicle except for the clone. Excellent. Thank you, Mike. And let's back out and, of course, rebuild the route, accounting for the same amount of routes, but longer working hours. This is what the simulation environment is for, guys. Okay. Another thing we can really do with this is reevaluating an existing sim. So let's actually go to the name of the simulation on the top left. Thank you, Mike. Let's click on it one time, and then we're going to hit duplicate. And the reason why we want to do this, pretend like this is a master file or a master template or like my repeatable Monday route. But what I want to do here is I don't want to affect the master file. I just want to create a duplicate and mess around with it. So you could even hit the edit button and change this, for example. Be like, hey, this is actually my 3-vehicle test. Before the pandemic, I had 5 drivers. 2 of them had to be let go. 2 of my vehicles are in the shop. Whatever reason it is, that you want to downsize your routes and make all of your existing orders served by less vehicles, that's what we're going to be here to do in this scenario. So we're going to open that up. And what we want to do at this point is open up all vehicles rules, or excuse me, working hours from, instead of 8 to 1 or 8 to 12, we're doing 8 to 5. We're increasing the working hours. And then something else we could do with that is we can use constraints or opening up our constraints. So let's do that first. Thank you, Mike. And just hit update at the bottom, please. All right, thank you, sir. And back out to the main map. So looking at it this way, we know we could disable all these vehicles, but we're curious to see how many vehicles Route Manager actually needs. That way, if you're one of those that's like iffy about how many hours you can distribute to your drivers or allow them to come back and work, if you're one of those that's slowly bringing back your fleet or slowly bringing back your staff, what you can do is you can hit build on the left with the longer working day, and all vehicles unlocked. Route Manager is going to use as little vehicles as it needs, because we don't have any max orders or max constraints that are going to prohibit us from assigning that or balancing it in a certain way. So
hey, Yasser,
we're just going to build.
Did you want me to extend that to all vehicles or just leave it on vehicle 1?
Oh, thank you so much. Please copy that. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Mike. I knew I needed an extra set of eyes. You're going to hit discard at the bottom and then you can copy it. Perfect. And then, yeah, exactly. Get rid of 2-1 or lock it, whatever's easiest. Yeah, you could back out. Thank you for that, Mike. Awesome. And then just lock up that vehicle. Pretend like it's not there. And then we build. And then it's going to, should assign this to way less vehicles. Maybe 4, but most likely 3. Yep. So one of the other things we discussed was possibly editing your orders time windows to make them completed by a certain time, whatever it may be. Maybe you're like, hey, I've allowed certain drivers to come back to work. Not all of my drivers have come back because, I just can't do that yet. But some of them have come back and they have to work from 8 to 1 delivering. So you can obviously trim your vehicle's working time again for those 3, or you can just edit your orders time windows and see what happens. Obviously, it's going to demand more routes to be produced, but it's one of those things that you can reevaluate and go back and forth whether you want to change your vehicle's working hours or whether you want to change your orders time windows. I don't think we need to demonstrate that, Mike. I want to leave some time for Q&A for everyone. Okay.
Sounds like a plan. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasser. So simulations is, of course, an incredibly valuable part of what you can be doing here, because it does give you that, like Yasser said, a safe space to play around with it. You can, if you know you're having an increased demand and you need to see if you're struggling this week and you need to see what what could happen if you add another vehicle next week. Simulations is a great spot because, again, like Yasser said, you can just bring them in. You can just bring in your orders for today that you're struggling with and see what happens when you start playing around with timing or overtime or more vehicles. So all of that said, we did want to leave a little time for Q&A. We don't have too much going on. Most of you, all of you are still here. So by all means, so thank you for sticking with us even as we run a little bit over. But if you have any questions, pop them in the Q&A. We'll take anything. It could be about what we talked about today. It could be about the upcoming SMS feature. Anything you want, really. While we wait to see if we get any more questions coming in, I'm going to pop back over and tell you about some of the resources we have to offer. So Nicole, take us away.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, so at the conclusion of our webinar, I'm going to be sending an email that will include a recording of this webinar. It'll also include a special offer exclusively for you who have attended, and then also some resources from WorkWave that we have on our website. Everything from blogs, a Facebook page that we have that also includes a lot of helpful tools and tips and articles as well. So this is just a look at the type of resources that will be included in the link for the email that I'll be sending. You should get the email, I'm hoping tomorrow, but if not tomorrow, Monday morning, you'll get the email with all the things that I've described. Thanks, Mike.
Oh, thank you, Nicole. All right, we're going to give it another minute or two, see if any questions come on in. Although it looks like Haley was answering some of the specific items as we went, so that's great. Thank you, Haley. And then if any of you would like to speak to Nicole a little bit about what you've experienced during the pandemic or how you're using Route Manager to adapt to the new world, she of course would love to speak to you. You can pop that in the questions pane as well.
Exactly. You took my statement that I was going to make, and I really appreciate that. Thanks, Mike.
I'm sorry, I am the worst.
No, I appreciate it. It's good.
Okay, all right. Looks like we're doing well. So in that case, let's close it off for today. Thank you everyone for attending. We really appreciate you being here. We ask and encourage you to take the post-show survey, and then we also would love for you to keep an eye out for the announcement for the SMS messaging launch, again coming July 1st. Thank you, everyone, and thank you to Nicole, Yasser, and Haley for attending today and showing us such great stuff.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. Have a great rest of the day.
Take care.